YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. Today, we're going over some NFL draft prospects that will go earlier than most people think that maybe the media is talking about here. Mainly focusing on first round potential, second round potential guys still in that film watching process. Long way to go to the NFL draft. So more guys could get added to this list. We'll have sleepers. Day 2, day 3, mainly focusing on the first 2 days here. So a lot of guys I want to break down, go over, talk about why they're going to go earlier than you think. Yeah, been starting that film watching process. A lot of guys standing out, shooting up my board. So it's a great time of the year. We got you covered for the NFL draft and NFL offseason in general, free agency, all kinds of videos up on the channel. Definitely more to come. So join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Follow our Twitter. A lot of talk on there, rumors, news, predictions, Patreon, and some bonus offseason content. Important links pinned in the comment section of this video. Here's our Twitter. Right before we're going to record this, I asked you guys this question. Who are draft prospects that you think will go earlier than what everyone else thinks, the media thinks? So you guys are playing along. I just posted this. A lot of people are commenting with some good prospects, so I love it. Love the interactions here. So join us on Twitter. First one I want to talk about is Travon Walker, the Georgia pass rusher, who I just watched in the middle of last week, and I like Walker a lot. I think he's going to go way earlier than what we're talking about. You know, a lot of people have him. I think the earliest I've seen is middle of the first round. Back into the first round, I've seen early second. I've even mocked him there. You know, the recent mocks have been, for the most part, before the film watching process, still in that process. But got the chance to watch Walker, and very impressive. All about the upside there. I think too many people kind of look at the stats, the numbers. If you watch Walker, Georgia did a lot with him. You know, they played him at, more of a defensive end. They played him in the interior. When he was at DN, sometimes he was standing up, most of the time hand in the dirt, but they would also drop him in coverage. He was pretty decent at that. And if you watch and you knew it was coming with Georgia, like which guys look better because the insane talent's around them, but then you always wonder which guys are kind of being limited production because the talent around them. I thought that is where Walker falls under. If they had him just playing defensive end, edge rusher, and they had the same amount of pass rush reps than Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau, the guys at the top of this class are known as top class. I think he would be known with those guys. I think he would have the production that they have, maybe more. So that's what I see from him. Very good, very strong rusher, extremely lengthy, and he goes about 275, and he's pretty damn athletic for that too. I think teams are going to see that. We want to work with this guy. Pretty versatile. Again, you can move him inside. You can see already polished, stopping a run. I think he's got all the talent in the world. I see him with his bull rush ability too. He was close to having a lot more sacks than he did. So I like Walker. I am blown away by the upside here. And I think he should be in the top 10 conversation. I feel like he'll get there. I think teams will start. I think we'll start to hear. I think teams are probably already talking about this. We just don't know yet. We'll see how he does at the combine. But I really don't think Hutchinson and Thibodeau should be far and away like in a category of their own, which they are right now. I don't think that's actually the case within the league. So Walker is a guy to watch out for. I think he has a shot to go in the top 10. Doesn't mean he's going to go in the top 10, but he's going to go earlier than what people are talking about right now. I think he's a top 20 lock. I think he's an absolute top 20 lock here. It's a loaded edge rusher class, so we're going to talk about some edge rushers in this group. Jermaine Johnson, I think, is a top 10 pick as well. Again, I think it's weird right now that Hutchinson and Thibodeau are just – people know it's a great edge rush group, but I think people have those guys way up here, and then there's other guys – they're good, but they're not in their category. I think that's false. I think Travon Walker and Jermaine Johnson are in the same category with those guys that we talk about at the top. Jermaine Johnson, phenomenal film. I mean, he had a great tape when he was with Georgia. You kind of worry just kind of hearing, he didn't work out at Georgia, so is he not as good as those guys? They just had so much damn talent. When he played, he looked pretty damn good even on that tape. But with Florida State this year, I mean, a good collection of rushing the quarterback with power and then with athleticism, with different pass rush moves, all of the above. So very impressed with him. He was fantastic at the Senior Bowl and one-on-ones, dominated that. I think he fits a 3-4 or a 4-3 defense. I think there's a shot he goes in the top 10. Again, with Walker and Johnson, there's out of 32 NFL teams, I really think there's got to be teams out there that have these guys, or maybe one or the other, ahead of the other two pass rushers that are just clear cut at the top right now. So Jermaine Johnson would not surprise me as a top 10 pick. People aren't too far off. People are talking about him in the middle of the first, kind of creeping up there after the Senior Bowl. But another one that should absolutely be a top 20 lock here. So really good pass rusher class. And we're going to talk about another one, South Carolina's Kingsley Enagbare, who in this he put on some good size last year. You see, he was number 52 2 years ago. He was number 1 this past year, but put on some good size as well. To me, he's and people are starting to talk about it a little bit. To me, he is a first round lock. I watched him recently. I think he's a first round guy for sure. I just love the upside. I just absolutely love the upside with him. A good mixture of winning with his length, winning with power, winning. He's got some athleticism too, but I really like his fit as a 4.3 end in the NFL. I think he's going to be a way better pro than in terms of production and what he was in college at South Carolina here. So I think he's a top 20 pick. I think he has potential to be that. I really don't see him getting out of the first, which some people will say maybe he's a borderline guy. Maybe it's more likely he goes second. I really don't think he gets out of the first with his upside. He's got an upside too, but I see him being a contributor right away as well. It's crazy. I keep going back to the top two guys on everyone's board pretty much with Hutchinson, Thibodeau, fantastic pass rushers. But you look at some of these other guys got more upside in them. I think that doesn't mean they're better, doesn't mean they'll necessarily be better, but in terms of upside, where their ceiling is at, I think it's higher. I really think so. So this is another guy that's kind of locked into the first round for me after watching him. He just got a good feeling about him with his traits, where he can take him to. So I really like him, again, as a 4.3 defensive end, as a fit there. I think one of the team that runs that scheme will take him in the first round. I think he has a shot to go top 20. Cornerback Kyler Gordon from Washington. The Washington corner duo is very solid. Everyone knows about Trent McDuffie. They know he's going to go somewhat early, can go middle of the first, can go earlier than that. But Kyler Gordon maybe kind of gets somewhat hidden in that because McDuffie's known as the better one, but they're totally different. These two corners are totally different. Kyler Gordon is lengthy and very, very athletic. It's a guy I can't wait to watch at the combine too, see what he's got. But on that alone, defensive coaches want to work with those guys, those corners that have pretty good play, pretty good experience, good production. They're lengthy, athletic. They want to work with these guys. He's got phenomenal tape as well. He's very good in coverage. He's pretty instinctive. Can make a play on his on the ball. His length shows up when making plays on the ball, obviously, because sometimes these guys have the length, they use it properly. It's an interesting one because he, I guess in the run or in tackling's a little bit of an issue. Sometimes he'll whiff on tackles. He'll kind of maybe dive at the ankles and try to get an arm tackle in there, and he'll miss them. That's kind of the issue with him. He'll miss some tackles, but it's interesting because he's pretty instinctive in the run game. Sometimes he'll read where the run's going and he'll fly up and make a flashy tackle. But then sometimes when one kind of gets on the outside, he gets off his block and he kind of whiffs on a little bit. But there is so much upside here. There is so much upside with his. He's got good play. He's very good in coverage with that athletic ability with his length. I think he goes top 20. I really do. I don't think he gets out of the first round, and he's kind of a guy. I've noticed some people start talking about him potentially late 1, early 2, but I think there's going to be more talk about him just being locked in the first round. So teams are looking for these upside guys. It seems, they've always looked for the guys with the incredible upside. Like they want to work with that guy, whether it's cornerback or not. Even if they're a raw prospect. But lately, I don't know. I feel like last couple draft classes, the upside guys are still upside guys, but they're making a pretty big impact right away too. So these guys are shooting up boards. So as a corner, I really like the corner class. Actually, I like the Washington corner group. Obviously you got Ahmad Gardner. You got Derek Stingley. I talked about the Washington guys. I really like Andrew Booth Jr. from Clemson as well. It's a pretty damn good corner group here. So this is one to watch for, shooting up boards. Safety, Jalen Pitre from Baylor. People start talking about him a little bit more after the Senior Bowl. I think he's going to go way earlier than people think. I think some people may be starting to gear towards. I haven't really seen anybody put him in the first, but I don't really look a lot at other people's mocks, but I see what other people are talking about in terms of their boards. So maybe people are trying to sneak him into first. I think not only go into first, I think go a little bit earlier than what people think too, because the safety group really isn't bad. There's some solid players. You got Kyle Hamilton, that he's definitely in a league of his own, and then you kind of look at there's a couple other studs, obviously, but I think where Pitre stands out is his instincts, and these types of safeties are taking over. These types of safeties that you could move around a bit. They have the coverage ability to play in the back end, but when they're really special is they have that coverage and instinctive ability, in the box, around the box, or they put themselves in the box because they know what's happening on the play, given the instincts here. And he's a playmaker. He can make a play on the ball. So I think there's some good safeties. There is a pretty big cutoff after Hamilton, but teams are kind of looking for those instinctive guys. And I think a team that needs, making mocks too. You see teams in the 20s that maybe need a safety. Is it too early? Well, here's a guy where maybe it's not too early. So, and that Baylor defense was so damn good. I think it starts with a guy like this. I really do. So that's got to watch out for that shooting up boards here. Talk about guys that could go into first that people don't really. Breece Hall. This is more so to me that I really think it's early. Combine will play a big part because these running backs are close in grade. But I really think Breece Hall will be the first running back taken, and then nobody's really talking about running backs in the first round. I'm not guaranteeing at all he's going in the first round, but I think he has a shot to go in the first round. He's more so on this list because I really think, and I'm not necessarily, my rankings aren't set yet, so I'm not necessarily saying he's my number one running back for sure. Definitely a strong candidate for that, but I kind of have a feeling what teams like and where they'll take guys, where they feel comfortable taking these guys. And I am really confident that Breece Hall will be the first running back taken. And I don't really see anybody saying that. I know Isaiah Spiller at the top for some, Kenneth Walker at the top for some. I know there's probably definitely people out there at Breece Hall at the top because he's been so good, but I'm really thinking he's the first running back taken, He's got the every down running back build. You see him hit the hole. You see him break tackles. You see him have explosive plays in the inside and out. I think he's got that home run ability, too, once he gets going. I think he's got some acceleration to him. He's got some breakout speed that no one really seems to think he has. Here's the big one. I think he's very underrated and has upside in terms of catching the ball in the backfield and downfield. Pretty flashy at times. People don't talk about that enough. So, all of the above there, all of the above, where I like, could be kind of the Najee Harris of this class. I think he's going to be the first running back taken, and nobody's really talking about that. So, yeah, I like Breece Hall. Based off what other people are talking about running backs, it's looking like mine are going to look a little different, which is usually the case. I've had a pretty good track record with the running backs there. But Breece Hall, that's a guy I think he has a shot. If there's a running back that's going to go first, I think it would be Breece Hall. I'm not banking on him going first, but I do think he's going to be the first running back taken at the moment. So maybe people sleeping a little bit. Travis Jones, which got a lot of hype coming out of the Senior Bowl. A lot of people have been hyping him up. Still not too many people are talking about him as a first-round player, though. And, again, not guaranteeing it. I think he could go early second, but I think it's a legitimate shot. He goes late one because he's such a phenomenal player on the inside. We know he could stop the run, but interior pressure is such a game changer. There's not a load of guys that can get it in the NFL. When you have that guy, it can take over. And here you have a guy that can play nose tackle or defensive tackle. Anywhere in between the center and the guard. Around that range, and he can rush the passer. It's usually by just bull rush, collapsing the pocket, and those guys are taking over today's NFL. So I like that about him. I think there's teams that are really going to like him. A lot of upside. UConn was a little bit of a mess. Get him in an NFL program. He can look pretty damn good. He's already pretty damn good. So I like the idea of Travis Jones potentially from UConn, potentially sneaking in the first round here. So we'll see. Early seconds, very, very realistic. Could mock him there. We will see. Skyy Moore is a big one. One of my favorite ones on this video. The Western Michigan wide receiver. He's starting to get a little bit of buzz. I got the chance to watch him the other day, actually. Fun watch for sure. I think Western Michigan's actually had some pretty good receivers now that I think about it, but recently, which is interesting. But Yeah, first round. He could sneak in the first round. He could be an early second guy. But you look at a guy that is equally effective and has that production as an outside receiver and as an inside slot receiver. Love that. Love that because those guys are taking over the NFL, versatile, being able to do a little bit of both. Has the footwork, has the ability to get the separation, definitely has the hands. I've seen him make some good catch, again, equally on the outside and on the inside, and he's so good after the catch. I mean, this is kind of what you're looking for in a receiver. The only thing is he hasn't played against the best competition, but he's very, very talented. So you talk about all these other talented receivers, watch out for Skyy Moore. I'd have him in conversation in the top 5 receivers in the class. I think he's very, very solid. It's just, to me, it's a safe pick. You think Western Michigan, he's not a safe pick because he's played, what happens when he plays NFL competition. That's true, but I know he's going to get you. You're going to put him in either receiver spot. He's going to get you some good production. He's going to get open. He's going to be fantastic after the catch. So I really like Skyy Moore from Western Michigan here. So that's a guy to watch out for. I think he has a shot to sneak in the first round. Tyler Smith's another one. He's generating a lot of buzz, I've noticed. The tackle from Tulsa, big boy, very strong, powerful blocker, kind of punishing people. I think, worst case, he ends up moving to guard, and he's a dominant run blocker at the guard position. But I really like him at tackle. People are kind of hyping him up, and no one's really talking about, what range of the draft will he go into. I think there's a shot he could sneak in the end of the first round. I'll tell you why. It's because, you look at the tackles. You look at Evan Neal, potentially the first pick, if not top 5. You look at Ikem Ekwonu from NC State, same thing, potential first pick, if not top 5. Charles Cross, as Charles Cross became a little underrated because the other guys are so good. Cross might be number 1 in a usual tackle group. He's going to go somewhat in that range as well. And then it kind of drops off, and Trevor Penning from Northern Iowa. A lot of people like him as well, maybe middle of the first. I think there's a little bit of a cutoff after that, though. There's a couple other guys, Raymond, a couple other guys in there. I do think there's a bigger drop-off after that. So teams desperate for tackles, they want good ones. You got one here that put some pretty good tape out there at Tulsa. So I think he could rise up in a team that doesn't want to wait and gamble where there's no day one starter quality guys or maybe year 2 even going to be there. You take Tyler Smith at the end of the first round, maybe early second as a possibility. So nasty blocker. It's one of those guys you enjoy watching. So it's another guy to look out for. Boye Mafe from Minnesota, he kind of stood out within the Senior Bowl game, actually. Very productive pass rusher from Minnesota. I kind of like him as a 3-4 outside linebacker. Could actually drop in coverage a bit, too. I like that about him. I'm maybe a little more comfortable with early second with him, but he's been getting a lot of buzz. People talking about, credible people talking about him maybe sneaking in the end of the first round. The edge rush group is just so damn good. So if maybe a 3-4 team that maybe wants the guy that occasionally, not a lot, but can drop in coverage, that's a guy to look out for those teams. Talk about the guys for the second round. Dameon Pierce, probably going to be a top 3 running back for me. People like Dameon Pierce. People talk about him after the Senior Bowl. I think people look at the production. They look at the production, didn't get a lot of carries, didn't have a lot of yards, stats in general compared to some of these other guys. So people kind of putting some of the other big names ahead of them. I like Dameon Pierce a lot, though. I think he's the toughest, most violent runner in this class. I hands down for me, actually. Don't have to really think about it much. He hits the hole so hard. Against Georgia, the best defense maybe of all time. He only got 9 carries against Georgia. People will probably look at that. He got 9 carries, pretty decent amount of yardage, not nothing crazy. People probably write that off. If you go watch all 9 of those carries, Georgia remembers him. They remember, if any running back they remember, it's going to be Dameon Pierce. They felt him. Just such a, he really worked for some extra yards, even if it wasn't an insane amount of yards, against an elite defense too. And he had more tape like that as well. I think he's a safe pick. People may not think so because he didn't have a lot of production. What happened there? I didn't really love the way Florida called plays and ran their offense. I mean, they had very talented players, so they put up some points in production. But I think he's a safe pick. Teams know what they're going to get. You're going to get a tough runner with a lot of upside here. So I think he goes in round 2. I think there's a shot he's a top 3 running back draft. I think he'll be a top 3 running back for me as of now. Still more work to do here. But, I like Dameon Pierce in the second round. I think there's a shot he goes third round. I'm not saying he's going second. I think it's pretty realistic he goes early third, but don't be surprised if he goes in the second. Some people may be surprised because of somewhat lack of production. Chad Muma from Wyoming. Could we have another Logan Wilson? You see a Bengals star linebacker that came from Wyoming. He was kind of an under-the-radar guy for a little bit during the draft process, and people kind of wondered, is that the right pick? You see the upside. He's already reached it. Equally as effective stopping a run as in coverage. And could we have another one here in Muma? Not really just because he came from Wyoming, but he's a similar build, and he has some of the similar traits. It's like Logan Wilson, trying to figure out if he's better, we're staying out more in coverage or stopping a run. It's kind of the same thing with Muma. I think he does probably coverage. He does a pretty good job reading the quarterback, making plays on the ball. See him in zone coverage a bit. I think teams are really going to like that. So this is a guy that probably goes in the second round here, which is not the biggest school, but maybe some other big time players in the NFL have kind of pointed everyone in the direction of Wyoming maybe recently. So that's definitely one I like in a second. And a receiver that I really haven't heard any. A lot of these guys I think people agree with me or I agree with them. This is one I haven't really heard much about, so maybe he doesn't go in this range. But I watched Khalil Shakir from Boise State. I like his tape a lot. It's another one of those guys. I think it's a safe pick. He's a dominant slot receiver. He gets open. He catches the damn ball, and he's extremely good after the catch. So I just one of those types of, today's NFL receivers. You're going to put him in a slot. Again, he's going to get open. Let's just get him the ball and let him go to work. I think he's one of those guys. I really do. So I think there's a shot. He can go in a second. It's another good, kind of what we're used to these days. Another good receiver draft class. I don't know if it's crazy deep because some of the last 2 classes have been like, you might get a stud in the 6th round. That's kind of what it's been. I don't know if it's still some more watching to do, studying to do, but I don't know if it's that deep. It's not too far off. It's a really good group. But my point is I think there is a little bit of a cutoff. So if you see a guy and you need a guy like this, a good slot receiver, you take him at the end of the 2nd round possibly, maybe in the 3rd round. But I really enjoy watching Boise State's receiver here. Again, it just kind of fits what's going on today in the NFL, like I said. So these are some guys that I really think are going to go earlier than people think. I think they deserve more buzz. I think some of them definitely are starting to get some more of it. And then there's a lot of more studying to do, so more guys will pop up in this category. Haven't really watched the guys kind of known as the day 3 guys yet. And so every year I see a guy there, and I think they should be much higher. So that'll probably happen here in the near future. Combine right around the corner. Hopefully everything clears up with that. A little bit of a messy situation going on with that. And free agency's right around the corner. So we have you covered for everything, for both everything NFL. No one covers the offseason like the GOAT House here. So join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Make sure you follow that Twitter. Very, very important this time of the year. Important links pinned in the comments section. But that is going to do it for this one. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.